Hi,
Hello.
I'm Brad,
And I'm Kelsey.
and we're BK Book Club.
Whoop whoop.
Convert. Welcome to episode 10 of BK Book Club. It is good. It's a very good one. You got?
We got a Mary Hill Cabernet Sauvignon.
Because I made beef stew tonight, and red wine goes best with beef. So,
I
and
almost said Cabernet Sauvignon Blanc. I was like,
that's not a thing.
not correct.
Well, it could be a thing. It's just not the thing tonight.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to go over the first 17 chapters of A Court of Wings and Ruin. Welcome to the 10th episode.
Woo, woo.
Yay. Thank you for sticking with us this far. If you've been here. Yeah. Confetti. Glitter. Yeah, make sure that you guys are liking, subscribing, turning on alerts, follow.
Yeah.
Share with your friends. We love comments too. Feel free to tell us what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, how you feel.
Try to keep them nice.
Yes, please keep them nice. But also feel free to let us know what you thought about the episodes. So
the chapters and the books and
everything. If you have book recommendations or food, maybe perhaps one night. We love all kinds of recommendations, especially if you can kind of link it to like maybe a YouTube video or a Facebook post that you saw that you were like, ooh, this looks good, and let's try making that type of thing. Send it our way. We'll give it a shot.
Yeah. I love cooking.
Today we're going to do things just slightly different. I like to
I feel like we say that.
I was like, I change it up basically every episode just because
we get our groove.
Yeah, it's a learning experience. We're trying to make sure that we get things right. So what we're going to do is that we'll do the actual like chapter recap, everything that happened in these chapters at the end of the episode, just because I feel like whenever we do it, we kind of sidetrack and never end up finishing it.
Yeah.
So instead, what we're going to do is I have 3 questions that'll help guide our conversation through each chapter.
And then I also have comments that I've made while I've been reading.
Which is perfect. So we'll start off, we'll ask the question, converse, and then go over whatever you have.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of mine too are just like literally stupid comments that I make.
Which is perfect. That's exactly what this should be. This is why we do this.
Yep. Okay.
For chapter 1, how do you feel about Feyre returning to the spring court? What are the risks she's taking? I think one of the biggest risks.
Wait, did you read the like thing before chapter 1?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Which actually I had a thought about that too, because in previous episodes I'd asked you what you thought about whether or not their power was like limitless, or if there was like a repository that they're tapping into, and come to find out that's the case.
Yep.
Their power is not an unlimited resource.
Charge up.
Yeah. It was interesting.
It made me sad.
It was very sad.
So sad.
So if the portion that we're talking about is like the prologue to the first chapter of the book, which I like how
it's
she's
a flashback.
It's during the war, which is the first war with Hyberian. Hybern. Sorry, I keep on saying Hyberian. It should just be Hyberian.
Like Siberian.
Yeah.
That's where you're getting it from.
I don't even know.
Anywho.
It's basically just having Rhysand walking through the battlefield after holding down.
Basically looking for Cassian.
And Azriel.
Dead. No, because he knew Azriel was still with his father because he wanted to use him for his
for being
shadow
a spy.
Spies.
But I'm interested to see what that fort is, because that's the first time we've heard about said fort. And I think that they might have mentioned the name, but I can't remember. But I don't remember a name being told, but it has something to do with the positioning of it, and it's basically where all of their armory stuff is, where they're building where the forges are to build all their weapons. So yeah, I thought it was definitely sad. I thought it was really well depicted. Like I can imagine them walking through like a brutal battlefield.
Unfortunately, I could picture that.
I've watched enough Civil War movies. I
watched Sweet Home Alabama.
I'm leaving that alone. I'm not even going to go there. Watch Glory and then we'll talk.
I don't want to, probably.
I mean, to be fair, you could just watch.
About in Sweet Home Alabama, though, her dad is literally an AK.
Yes. You could also just watch like any Lord of the Rings movie or any of the battle scenes, like the Battle of the Bastards for Game of Thrones. Like it's all kind of the same vein where you're like walking through a battlefield looking over the carnage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, that was one of the first things that stuck out to me specifically about that was I was like, oh shit. So it's a depletable resource.
Yeah. Sorry, we can go back to chapter 1. I just didn't know.
No. I forgot about that actually.
Just a little chat about that.
Yeah.
Obviously I hated her going back. I get why she went back to the Supreme Court, but obviously I've hated it.
Yeah.
But and one of my notes in one of these, it does say I'm loving Feyre a lot more in this book.
She's definitely, and I think she's, like I said, I feel like because now that she is the high lady of the Night Court, like the cunning is coming into it
literally,
more.
One of mine is I put like Feyre is cunning.
Yes,
that's for
and
chapter 5.
I love it. Is what way? Oh, sorry.
How do you feel about her going back to Supreme Court?
Well, of course I hated it. Yeah. And I think that one of the biggest things that she had to lose, because the second part of the question was, what are the risks she's taking? The risk is being found out. Yeah. Like, I think that the depiction of how...
I think it is, but it isn't, too, because I feel like as soon as she dropped that glamour and showed that she's the high lady, it's saying, you can't mess with me. Yeah. What are you going to do?
We'll get into that because that's more chapters ahead, but because I have something to say about that. I have a interesting, got it. Interesting. There's a question I have, and I don't know if it gets addressed in the questions that I got from the thing. But in what ways has Feyre changed since the first book, and how does she use those changes to her advantage in this chapter?
I mean, if we're talking about physically and like,
I mean, she's more powerful,
all those powers, but I feel like mentally and like emotionally, she just has accepted that like darkness and is okay with.
She's learning, she's healing. Yeah. And like she's healed more now because she's found the love of her life and she feels secure and she realizes that the situation that she was in, all the situations that she was in, was terrible.
Well, I think it's not only that she's, found her mate, found the love of her life, but she found somebody who like respects that she wants to be out there and doing things and not.
She wants to be a part of it all.
She wants to know what's going on. She wants to be informed. She wants to
help too.
She wants to be a partner, not a caretaker. Fucking tampon.
Good old tampon. I think the other ways that she uses it to her advantage is that she has so much more knowledge now too. Not only just about like Tamlin himself, but just the concept of how the courts work. Yeah. And also, I mean, she spent so much time reading while she was in the Night Court too. So she was able to like, I'm sure she's learned a shit ton of histories and all that stuff. And her interactions and the way that she's had to like present herself, especially that night in the Night Court or the Court of Nightmares. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Like learning to put on a show has become second nature.
She knows how
to
put on her mask now.
She knows how to, and
that was
convert.
It was treated her.
It worked really well in her favor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I knew where you were going with that. Third question for chapter 1. How does the opening chapter set the tone for the rest of the book? I convert. Chapter 1, I don't feel like sets the best tone. I feel like it's a little bit later in the chapters, but I can see how chapter 1 sets the precedence that Feyre's not going to let anybody walk all over her anymore. Yeah. Definitely. And she's like taking notice and she's keeping tally of everything.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some things because I think it was in chapter 1 that she saw Ianthe already. Yeah. And like, I mean, I get why she wasn't, especially now. But at first I'm like, you let her off too easy. 100%. Because I still have, also I just hate Ianthe. Well, first I said, I think Lucien is going to switch sides. He's had it with Ianthe. And then because of Elaine. Yep. And then I said, also, I still hate her. I'm really hoping I'm right and thinking she's going to die.
There's still hope.
There's still hope. Yeah. And then my last one for chapter 1 was just fucking Jordan.
I know.
But then we'll get into that.
Yeah. Chapter 2. What do you think of Feyre's strategy of deception and manipulation? Do you agree with her approach?
I love it.
100%.
I literally love it.
100%.
I'm like, you know what? Yep. Get it.
Yep. I don't see anything wrong with it. I thought that and I was, to be honest, because I know there's so many twists and turns in this book series, especially the ending of the last book. I was a little fearful that she was going to fail. Yeah. But I loved how she put everything, like she was just dropping kernels. She's like, here's a little seed. I'm just going to, a little bit of
and like
pixie dust.
I kept the whole time being like, what is going on? Like, she's doing something.
Yeah, she was being and extra.
And then when it finally all like clicked in.
When all the pieces fall into place. Yeah.
Love it.
But it makes sense though at the end. I mean,
because it's needed. And you know what? Tamlin and
deserves it.
Ianthe deserve it. Yeah.
I mean, I think they deserve far worse, but it makes sense what they're doing, what she's doing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
How does Feyre's hatred for Ianthe influence her actions? Do you think her judgment is clouded by personal feelings?
I actually think she did really well.
She was very
not
reserved.
Letting her personal feelings like deter her from her mission.
The red hot hate that I had. I mean, I don't know how you.
She really
tuck that down.
She really said, "I'm just gonna stuff it in."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm just gonna
just for a minute
pack it in my spank bank. It'll be fine."
Yeah, I mean, she eventually, but like the first long while, I feel like she did really good.
Yeah, the first couple of interactions that she has with Ianthe, I think were.
If I was her and they were they did that to my sisters.
Yeah,
there's no being pleasant.
How does Feyre balance her emotions with the calculated role she's playing?
Again, I think she did really, really well.
I agree. And I think that the only thing that I would say is that she went too easy.
But I think now
I think it still could have been better.
Yeah, it's true. But I feel like that was the best for everyone involved.
Yeah. I think to protect herself and make sure that she had a way back home.
A way back home and get the information she needed.
Yeah. And the fact that she was able to still like utilize the bond and send information.
Yeah.
Even though she was being poisoned by that stupid fucking
those twins.
It wasn't just the twins. It was Ianthe who was fully willing to be like, "Oh, you want me to ground up Faebane and pour it into their food?" Yeah. Sure.
Well, yeah, because she just couldn't stand.
Convert.
Some of these got answered inside.
I was going to say, what else do you have for chapter 2?
That was it for chapter 2.
Okay, chapter 3. Lucien seems suspicious of Feyre. Why do you think he's growing wary, and how does Feyre handle him? I think she played him like a fiddle.
1,000%.
She was like, "You want my sister, and I'm going to use that 100% to my advantage."
Absolutely, because he knew she was lying.
Yep.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
She knew. They don't know that we know they know.
They knew that they knew.
Yes, they knew that they knew.
Yeah.
And she just kept doing it and being like, I
feel like she almost reveled in it a little bit.
Oh, she did, because she was like, if you want to call me out, or if you want me to say something, call me out. Do it.
I want to see my sister again. Yep.
I'm going to keep pretending what I am pretending. And if you want, call me out. See what happens.
See what happens, brah.
And also, you're not going to call me out.
Not only that, but who do you think Tamlin would believe in that situation? Yeah. Too.
Oh, just one little meat.
No, little meat twirling the hair and everything.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I don't think this shows up as one of the questions, and I'm just going to call it out anyway. But Elise convert being an ally from day
I literally have right here. Fucking love Alice, Elise, or whatever.
However you say her name.
She literally was the whole time.
She was like,
"Girl, I was there."
She's like, "You look a little full for someone who had a hard time in the night court."
She's like, "I was there when you got taken."
Yeah, I saw Morrigan grab you, and you willingly left with it. Yeah. She's like, "Okay, keep playing that game with me. It's fine."
Yeah, and she was basically, especially because she's not really loyal. She's loyal to Spring Court.
I think she was actually, after what happened under the mountain, she was loyal to Feyre.
Yeah.
I don't think that she remained loyal to.
But I'm saying, like, she didn't start being loyal to Spring Court. It was always Summer Court.
Yep.
And so she
only went to the Spring Court for safety and to protect her nephews.
Yep. And now she's like, just. And
she's like, just let me know when you're leaving, because I'll leave too.
And she literally was like, hey, just leave, make sure my nephews are safe. And like,
yeah,
without saying it, she's like, obviously.
Duh.
Duh.
And I think that Feyre actually mentions that at one point. She's like, I have no quarrel with the people. It's just Ianthe and Tamlin that she had an issue with. So how does Lucien's relationship with Feyre evolve in this chapter? Do you think he senses her true intentions? So without looking at well, let me just see real quick in the recap, because chapter 3 is when Convert begins the wrong suspicion of Feyre's behavior. Though still loyal to Tamlin, Lucian struggles with his own conflicting feelings. He remains loyal to Feyre as a friend.
This is when
they're kind of like,
because I have in here, oh my goodness. Oh, and he talked about the right.
Yep.
And how
that's how we find out that Ianthe and
I said to you, I fucking hate Ianthe. She's a fucking C.
We can say fucking, but we can't say cunt.
Well, I didn't know. I don't know.
We've said it multiple times in some of the previous episodes.
See you next Tuesday. But yeah, she's a fucking cunt.
Let me know if that's banned or not. I don't think it is. Especially because we have enough disclaimers under everything.
Yeah, I also
and
if
you have been watching this for this long,
you know.
I
have. Oh my goodness, I think it's so cute that he was like, "Don't tell Elaine about."
Yeah. Oh.
Bro, she's literally engaged to another man right now. It's okay.
Does she tell him that then? I think she does, right? At that point, she's like, she is supposed to be marrying a mortal man whose family hates
I don't know if it's
Faye.
Then or like.
I'm pretty sure it's all a part of the same conversation.
Because that's also when I said I teared up, because I really actually did tear up when he said, "You are a better friend to me, Feyre, than I ever was for you." I was like, oh my goodness, it's so sad.
How do Lucian's internal conflicts create tensions with the Spring Court? Well,
because he doesn't agree with Hybern at all.
He doesn't agree with Hybern. He doesn't agree with what Tamlin's becoming.
No, and didn't agree with what Tamlin was doing
in the first place.
Feyre
no, because he sided with Ianthe.
Yeah.
And like as soon as that bitch showed up, I would have been like off with her head.
Literally.
Off with her head. Especially because I'm sure that and Lucian specifically, because he's been able to bounce between courts, has probably encountered other high priestesses before.
Yeah. That aren't like that.
Because, are not like, and that's the thing is, like, Rhysand even says that none of the other high priestesses are like her. Come to find out, it's because she was basically living and growing up on Hybern during the entire encampment that Amaranthin was on Corinthia.
And I even put in this when we learned about the whole Ianthe, I was like, I do feel like Lucian might be able to like relate to Rhys because it was like willingly going into the. Is it not the? I keep saying the right, but it's not the. Is it the right?
It's the Calamai,
but I thought they called it something else too.
They do call it the right. Okay, the actual like act of having sex is called the right.
Okay. In my other book, there was also a right, and it was very different than this right.
Calamai is just the party before and after.
Yeah, it was willingly, but it was also like they didn't really have a choice because
he did it out of duty.
And that's Rhys was doing it to protect his people. Yeah. So it was like I feel like you guys can relate to that.
Parallels there, parallels.
Because I do like we've always liked Lucian.
I've always liked Lucian.
You've always liked.
I've always liked Lucian. But metal, gold eye, and all. Yeah.
But I am glad because all of it was like I just keep hoping that he's gonna come around. Which
we don't know.
We don't know
for sure. So chapter 4. In this chapter, Feyre starts to sow discord in the Spring Court. How effective do you think her tactics are? I think she did exactly what she was planning on doing.
Yep.
Because when Rhysand is talking to everyone in the last chapter of the last book and basically explaining to everyone that she's now the High Lady of the Night Court and that he knows that his mate is there specifically to
get information.
And she even said, and I'm pretty sure she said it before she pretends to glow and lose all that. She says, "I will tear you down from the inside out." Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what she did.
I literally told you what I was going to do. I'm sorry that you guys
didn't believe me.
Yeah.
You fools.
Believed my lies.
Yeah.
And not my truths.
Convert. What do you think? How effective do you think her tactics were?
I mean.
Convert.
Great. I think,
awesome.
Like I said, I think I have been annoyed with Feyre in the last 2 books, but so far, I'm like, you know what, Feyre? Yes, this is what we wanted to see.
This is the person that I was expecting as soon as she became High Fae.
Yes, really. Which was, I mean, we should have given her a little bit of grace.
Realistically, it's probably not the best thing, but
it's been like a few months.
Right. She's like, I've only been immortal for 2 days. Can you give me a break?
Because like these first 3 books, well, book and a little bit in, have really only been like what 6 months of time, if that.
It's been a full year.
No, it's been a full. Yep, I forgot that.
It's been a full year. It's been a full year and a couple of months.
Yeah, I did forget about that.
Because they were at. Because
they
went to the summer. Well, no, they went to the summer solstice, and then she left early so that Tamlin wouldn't kiss her like he did last year.
Yep.
So,
and then that's when her whole little plan.
And that's when the plan. And then she lured that. I think that's this chapter actually, because how do you feel about Feyre's manipulation of Tamlin and the court? Is it justified, or do you see it differently? So and I think it's 100% justified.
Because there was one where
convert.
I don't know what chapter it is. Is it this one? Oh, it is. This is because this is. Are we in chapter 5 or 4 right
4.
now? Okay, it's the next chapter that all happens. How do you feel about Feyre's manipulation of Tamlin? It's justified. Yes, we think that.
Yeah. What do you think Feyre is risking emotionally by playing this role? I think there's like.
I mean, it's still, yeah.
She's still got her mortality too, like her mortal heart, which is what Rhysand loved
and
about her.
She still has like morals.
I'm sure she's feeling guilty, and there's, I mean,
to like some extent,
there is one part which I'm going to skip ahead a little bit when they're punishing the guardsmen when Feyre calls Ianthe out. And she's like, I'm going to set this up in a way, like, I'm so sorry, you have to be collateral damage right now.
Yeah, and I do think, that's what I was about to say. I'm like, I do think she feels bad for the people that aren't Tamlin and Ianthe, because those people...
Unfortunately, she has to use them as pawns.
Yeah, those are innocent people, so I do
Which is exactly what she hated Rhysand doing to her.
Yeah, that's like emotionally hurts, but in the end, like...
It's that whole train thing again. Run over one person and save everybody on the train.
But yeah, chapter 5.
So chapter 5, Feyre reflects on Tamlin's betrayal in the chapter. How do you feel about her ongoing feelings of anger and pain toward him? I think it's 100% justified.
Yeah, because this is, so for chapter 5, I said, this is when I said, Feyre is cunning.
Yeah.
And at this time, now I'm looking over there. At this time, I didn't know. I was like, I don't know why she's doing this whole thing with Lucien, but damn.
Yeah.
I said she's a little bit evil, but like book Hermione.
Yes.
Specifically book Hermione is that little bit of evil and like a little bit of cunning.
She's always playing chess the entire time.
Yes.
So she's always thinking 3 steps ahead.
Yes. I do kind of feel bad for Lucien because like he wasn't picking her, like hitting on him essentially, because she was doing it when they were at the camp and then again, so it was
she actually mentions it further on in the next couple of chapters. She does mention it. She's like, maybe I touched Lucien a little too many times in front of these people, because
Ianthe was
trying to rape him,
which is quite literally,
which is, I'm sorry, it's a strong word, but that's basically what was happening in the book.
He was tied up.
He was tied up, and he was being touched against his will. So how do you think Feyre's memories of Hybern and her sisters impact her actions on the Spring Court? I still think the pure white rage that she portrayed inside of the last chapter of the book, after everything that happened with her sisters, I think she still dampened it down.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was strategic. She was doing it on purpose because she had a plot and a plan.
Yeah.
I think that she's like, stole herself away from it to prevent herself from, like, she used it as a buffer for those instances when she was using people that she didn't want to hurt per se, but she needed to use in order to create the end result that she was looking for. And I think, I mean, if you really think about it, all of her motivation has been around protecting the people that she loves and cares about. Mm-hmm. She only went hunting in the woods to feed her family, which was her sisters and her father, which
we still don't know.
Still haven't seen him since the first chapter of the first book.
Yeah.
Like, bro, where you been?
Because Nesta was like, what happens when Dad comes home and we're gone?
Dad is...
and she's like, bro, we literally haven't heard from him in
would
months.
You imagine? Oh, how fucked up would it be? How fucked up would it be if Joran... they used her father's body to create Joran?
Do you think they'd be able to tell? I
don't know. Because he looks like Joran.
Yeah.
But they needed more than just an eyeball and a
I don't
finger.
know if that's true for the cold Joran. I think that maybe my thing is I think like
and then
the mortal queens have him captured.
Thinking in that vein though about Joran specifically, realizing that he tried to resurrect Miriam.
Yeah.
And that's why he's like, liars! Which we don't find out until later, and I don't mind skipping ahead on this part because I don't think it becomes a question. But Feyre asks, is it possible to use them in the oncoming fight? And that's when we find out that they disappeared.
We don't know. Yeah,
we have no idea where they are. Chapter 5, question 3. Does Feyre's rage towards Tamlin influence her strategy in a positive or negative way?
I think positive. Like I said, I literally have no comments for her. No comments, no questions, no concerns.
There's a couple of things I would have done a little bit differently. Like there would have been a little bit more pain instead of pleasure. But
I think if you would have done that, it wouldn't have worked out. Doesn't
shield herself when he goes crazy on her. Literally, and I was like, I have that kiss, girl.
And wherever it is, I'm like, she's leaning
into this role. I'm gonna
make your whole court
hate you.
She turned the people. She turned his sentries. I was like, you. And I'm like, worst, but like best part of it all was half of the time she was just being like a decent person.
She was just being genuinely kind.
Because
look at how that worked out for her too, by the way.
I meant it. I did this and I meant it.
And look at how that worked out for her too.
Wow,
because
if you be a good person, people like you.
She gave her jewelry to the water wraith, and those are who saved her when she grabbed the second
Amarin,
part. Yeah. And she's like, my sister, they were like, our sister's debt is paid. And we're like, girl.
Yeah.
Chapter 6. So this kind of ties into actually right when what we've been talking about. Feyre begins targeting Ianthe more directly in this chapter. What are your thoughts on Ianthe's influence in the Spring Court? I think Ianthe has a delusional sense of control.
But I don't know if it's that delusional because
the only person that's falling for it is Tamlin.
But he's the say all and be all of the Spring Court at that time. But I did just have, again, Ianthe better fucking die. She's so horrid.
I love that she knew where the rock was going to be, moved it over 3 feet so that she could imbue herself with light. And then come to find out.
Is it me?
Convert. Stopped. So then come to find out that Lucien knew that she was faking it.
Because he has a friend in Dawncourt that does the same thing.
And
he literally was like, well, I don't want you to have me never see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have in these because we also learn that he kills all the sentries and makes a deal with Hybern because to get her back. I was like, it's all because of rejection. Well, and then I also have her shielding herself and everyone around her from the room.
Constantly, yeah. She's protecting everyone's...
And if they were poisoning her the whole time, that was just creating so much.
She thought that she was draining her power because of her constant shielding of everyone's mental shields.
She's away from her home and her mate. That's why she's not healing fast.
I thought it was because she is constantly... It comes in waves.
Oh.
I think it's because she's I had thought previous to those chapters that she was just the reason that it was taking so long for her to regenerate, and the reason that her powers felt so dampened was because she was consistently using them. Because not only was she shielding everybody, she was also glamoring herself, and it was a constant thing.
Yeah.
And not only that, but she was it must take a certain, and I'm sure Rhysand feels this. It has to take us a certain level of power drain to constantly keep your powers in check too. Because Rhysand's always just I have to dampen it a lot of time.
She kept feeling the fire,
she felt the fire coming, she was always stepping it back and drawing it back in.
Breathe,
when she thought that fire was going to come out of her, she would call on ice because then ice would quell the flames.
Yeah.
So I thought it was that. I didn't realize specifically that they were...
I mean, why would we... How would we have known that?
Knew that they were conniving enough to end up poison everybody in the court.
Enjoy that apple. I was like, these. Yes.
Do you think that Feyre's desire for revenge against Ianthe is personal or part of a larger plan? I think it's personal.
It's personal for her and her sisters. It's personal for Rhysand. It's personal for her and Lucian. Like it's personal for her.
I think that she learned,
and for so many of the people that are her people.
I think that she learned who Ianthe was, and it made her hate her that much more. And so her sense of revenge, because she's like, you not only fucked with me, you fucked with all of these people, and you need to be put in your place.
I think she says it in this too. She's like, fuck with me all you want.
Yeah. Don't touch the people I care about.
Don't touch my people.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100% personal, and it should be, because Ianthe's the worst.
It's not you. I think it's this one. But it's random. Like, I won't even move, and then it'll just be like, maybe it's the grudge. Who knows? Spooky season. Do you mind refilling me a little?
No.
Chapter 7. Lucian's suspicions grow in this chapter. What do you think of his internal conflict between the loyalty to Tamlin and his growing doubt? Do you want me to reread it?
I just read it myself.
I think this is the chapter where they have the conversation a little bit more about who knows? No, this has to happen right before that. This is when they're probably going back to see the second hole in the wall.
This is when, because I have in my notes, not Jurian calling her out on everything.
The fire
He's
that
like,
night.
Bitch, I knew Rhys. I fought with him. I know everything they're saying isn't true.
And it makes me wonder if he still has any. I know that he's batshit crazy now.
Oh,
which
no.
Makes
I
sense.
have there on it too, that I'm like, I feel like Jurian is kind of, because he's human.
He's human.
He thanked her, but it didn't help. But
and that's the thing that I'm thinking. I'm wondering if he's still got a little bit of humanity left in him. It's just buried deep underneath the crazy.
Deep. Because she said he had some moments of lucidity before.
And he also didn't say anything to anybody about her plans and what she's doing, or about Rhysand.
Yeah. He wasn't like none of that is true.
Yeah. He just watched everything. And I think it's because his end game is to eventually destroy all Fae.
Yeah.
And I mean, his first and foremost plan, though, is to get Miriam back and destroy her.
But I think he knows that Feyre has that mortal heart still, and it still has humanity,
which probably gives him some kind of connection to her. So
I did have this in my chapter 7 notes too. I want the incestual twins to die, and they did. And that was weird. They're like, you have 2 rooms here, and they're like, we'll take one.
Oh no! No.
I feel like that's weird for a brother and sister, but I don't know. If you have the option of having your own room.
I mean, this is a stupid question, so I'm not even going to ask it. Do you think Lucian will eventually side with Feyre, or will he remain loyal to Tamlin? We already know what happens.
Yeah.
But I do have a question about that, and I don't mind skipping ahead with this just because it's relevant to the question that was just asked. But as much as Lucian does continue to go with Feyre and try to get to Elaine and sees everything, and he starts to get an understanding of why he even says at one point, and this gutted me a little bit, I hate that I was a villain in your story.
Oh my God, because she explained everything.
Yeah, a villain in your narrative actually is what he said. And I'm like, oof.
But you weren't necessarily a villain, but you were a bystander to a villain in my story.
Which a lot of the times,
you're like
complacency is
to
consent.
Captain Hook.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that, who knows? I don't think we're done with his character arc.
Mm-mm.
And especially if he's going to eventually end up with Elaine.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when it comes to that point. Wouldn't it be some shit if he becomes the new High Lord of...
I feel like they've hinted to it so many times already.
Of the Spring Court.
Oh, the Spring Court.
Yeah, not
right, because who else would be the Spring Court person?
He doesn't have any heirs.
Or would it have to go to... No, because I don't think he has any other family.
Yeah. So... Chapter 8.
But I did love that Amren was like, kill everybody and make the handsome one.
Yes.
I was like,
I have a note about Amren, and it's not, I mean, it happens in later chapters, but I don't mind bringing it up now. I even actually found it and wrote it out quote wise. But when I want to talk about the interaction between Nesta and Amren at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Amren saying that Nesta and her are made of the same stuff and that they don't fit into the molds. And then her line, when you erupt, girl, make sure the
worlds.
It's felt across the worlds.
Yeah.
Worlds.
No, I noticed that too.
And I'm like,
well, and just the fact that Nesta really was like, I'm supposed to be scared of you.
Yeah,
no,
she
I'm
was
gonna
not.
question you. And even
I think if there's one thing,
Feyre from day one was like, that bitch is powerful.
I think that if there's one thing that the cauldron took from Nesta, it's her fear.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I don't give a fuck.
She's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. She's like,
turn
everything.
Me into Faye?
Oh no, you're going to make me stay here? Oh God.
She literally is like, I'm reading my book. What do you want?
Yeah.
Which I kind of was like, okay, you could have been a little bit nicer to see your sister. Like, I mean, I guess it's kind of her fault, but also not her fault.
Yeah.
She tried to save you.
How do you see Feyre's subtle manipulation begin to take effect on the court? And this is for chapter 8.
Okay. So this is
This is when we start to see like
I literally
she manipulates Tamlin.
Yep, I literally have in here. I am loving Feyre in this book, making sure everyone sees the cuts and bruises. Like
walks out with her head held high with the bloody nose.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry.
I'm
okay. I'm fine.
This is the way he shows that he loves me.
It's like, I'm fine. I'm sorry. I'm fine.
She's
I'm
Angela
sorry.
Bassett in the Tina Turner movie. She's like, it's okay.
She's any
battered wife.
Yeah. They make excuses and make excuses. But yeah, I literally was like, I love it. She's making everyone in his court hate him. And then it went into...
Who knows?
Harris to hate him?
Who knows?
Oh, because this is when the thing with the Sentry happened. Yep. And so I said hair. I actually
Sentinel,
didn't
by the way. But... Isn't it Sentinel? No, Sentry. You're right. You're right.
Love hearing those two words.
For fuck's sake.
But I was like, now she's getting all his sentries to hate him.
Yep.
Yes. And yet again, fuck Ianthe.
Do you think that Feyre's plan to destabilize Tamlin's court is too risky, or is it necessary given the situation?
Even before knowing how it went, I literally was loving it the whole time. I loved that they sent the boggy after the bog,
whatever I call it.
I thought that was so funny. I literally laughed out loud.
But I don't know. So, but thinking about it though now and like reading that question, I'm like, it could be risky because we already know it's going to be the landing point for the King of Hybern. But as we've already got a couple of his people there, but if we no longer have a ruler or a high lord that is stabilized in the Spring Court, that opens an entire, like the closest court to the wall, as well as like an opening for like the middle of the country of Perinthian. So I think it's a little risky.
I mean, I think anything is risky.
Yeah, and it's war though. War is, I mean, there's casualties regardless.
Yeah.
But I can see see it being necessary and risky.
But I think when they were talking about the holes in the wall, now I'm kind of skipping because they started talking about fixing it with Feyre and her sisters.
Yeah.
They can go in the hole in the sea because they talked about the one in the sea and the twins were like, oh no, the sea one doesn't matter. We can't use that one. So they could still have a hole open and go in, fix those and even leave that hole because they can fly.
That's true.
And like winnow and then fly and winnow and fly or whatever. And I think eventually she's going to be able to maybe like fly. Like she's going to
be able to do both. I think that she's going to be like the most powerful winnower, and I think that she's going to be able to fly.
Yeah.
Because shape-shifting, she just needs to learn how to do it.
She just has to learn, and she has to, I feel like probably...
And by learn how to do it, I mean just to fly. She already knows how to get the wings.
I think that she, though, has to like practice, because I think she can only shapeshift for like X amount of time, and so she has to be able to like shapeshift for a good amount of time and fly. It's like my... thoughts on it. What are we on? 9?
8. How do the tensions Feyre is creating reflect her growth as a strategist?
Brilliant. She literally, it's so brilliant. I loved all of it. Her like,
I think that it's
let's
interesting
all
because
hear
she
him out, and Ianthe's like, you're gonna trust a sentry over a high priestess? She's like, bitch, you know I hate you.
I think as a strategist, I think that she's utilizing multiple things, right? She's utilizing her like hunting smarts from her mortal years, and then utilizing the knowledge that she has for all the courts, and then utilizing her ability to read her opponents in such a way that she's able to like, who knows, fuck with them without them realizing that she's fucking with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when she basically edged all of the information that she needed out of the twins. Who knows?
But now, was she actually, or were they just feeding her?
They were probably feeding it to her willingly, thinking that they were going to kill her anyway.
That's fair, because, yeah, they had already given her the apple.
Yep.
Yeah.
But chapter 9, Feyre witnesses more of Ianthe's cruelty. Yep. How do you think this fuels her determination to bring Ianthe down?
Oh, well, I did say yay for Ianthe getting what she deserves.
100? I don't think it was enough.
No, definitely not. But I think what makes it better, because it wasn't just the hand, it's all the things she put in her head yep. that's gonna fuck with her till the day she dies. And so, and then I was like, oh fuck for the twins seeing it all.
Yep.
So that's how chapter 9 ended, with them like seeing it. No, but I think that also though speaks to
who knows
how good of a person like Feyre is, because she could have been out there. I mean, I was kind of glad because she found out what happened to her magic instead of just, can you imagine? Because if she would have just left.
Yeah. And then like fucked it all up, she would have died because they would have found her in no time.
Yep. Yep.
I think that it's telling about how much she actually cares about Lucien to bring him along.
Yeah.
And to save him, like to even go back. Because she's like, my window of opportunity is closing. But then she's like, I couldn't
Well,
stop
even
myself.
when they were standing there and he's like, go, because they told them like, oh, your magic is going soon.
Yeah.
Because at least, I mean, she could have made it, because I feel like she would have gotten to a certain point.
She would have winnowed to a certain point and then kept going.
Like, race, come get me.
Yeah.
And because she used a lot of her power fighting the twins.
Well, there you go.
We'll just do this just in case.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love all of her manipulation in these chapters. I think it's great.
What do you think of Ianthe's role in the Spring Court and her relationship with Tamlin? I think that all along she was hoping Tamlin was going to end up marrying her.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if they mentioned that at any point, but I'm pretty sure that was her end goal. Like, especially, I think that's why she also pushed so hard for sure.
I think she thought she could manipulate Feyre, and so
enough,
she was,
yeah. Especially before she went to the Night Court. I think that's the reason that she went over the top with everything and like completely ignored everything that Feyre ever said, like the red flower petals and all that stuff, is because she's like, oh, if I push her to the brink of insanity, Tamlin will have no other choice but to pick me.
Oh, see, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as that she thought she could just, because really she just wants power, and so she thinks if she can manipulate, like I thought she thinks she could control Feyre. So if she can't have Tamlin being able to control who he ends up with is just as good, because it's still,
I don't know if it's ever brought up in the books or anything, but does she ever even try to get with Tamlin?
We don't.
I know that if the Calumet went the way it was supposed to, she would have gotten her way with him, but he couldn't bear to do it. How does Ianthe's behavior reflect the darker aspects of Fae power structures? Well, and I'm bottom feeders always want to get things at the top.
I'm interested on how she got him trapped too. And Feyre even says, like, how did he get into those? And the fact that she even used those on him is disgusting.
Well, and that makes sense as to how like she was poisoning everyone, is because she had access to them.
Yeah.
Ugh. Which then it also talks about, like, what is her alliance and her allegiance to? Just the King of Hybern?
I think it's just power. Whoever's going to give her the most power is who she's going to align with. And Hybern promises whatever they want.
That's true. And it's just stupid, though. Like, how naive can you be?
Like, well, because she doesn't care about the humans.
No, I understand that. But after, like, once the realization that she was poisoning everyone, and after the twins were going to kill Feyre, what did she think Tamlin was going to do? Who knows? Like, it just doesn't make... I don't understand what the end goal
She probably thought that she
end
could
thought
talk her.
was.
I didn't do that. That was all them. I didn't do it.
Well, and that was just like I like how they kept on mentioning she's like the keys went missing. And like there's Naga blood places and all this stuff.
Feyre even said, she's like, I feel bad because, you know, yes, she did it, but like I pushed her to it because I kept taking the spotlight. But it's like, okay, but if somebody nudged me towards shooting somebody with a gun, I'm still not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a bad person.
Chapter 10. Feyre begins gathering intelligence about Hybern's plans. What do you think of her dual role as spy and saboteur? I feel like they're one and the same, to be honest. Like, you garner information as you're planting your seeds of deceit.
Yeah. I just love that, like, the twins were not expecting.
Who knows? Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Put this behind you and move a little bit closer my way. You get into the very edge of the frame when you go there. And then when I'm editing, I'm like, well, there goes half the Kelsey.
Because this is where they like fight and get out and do all of that. And I think that they just were not. Yes, they knew she was lying and planning something, but I don't think they realized how. I think this whole chunk of chapters, everybody kept underestimating Feyre because the only people who really knew of her powers was the Night Court.
I think there was one person in all of these chapters that didn't underestimate her.
Lucian?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because he even said when she was like, oh, it's only because I had the element of surprise. And he's like, no, that was all you. But he was trying to tell Tamlin from day one that they should train her. And then he saw like a little bit of it that day in the forest. And that's actually when he's like, okay, yeah, go get Hybern. Which, bad choice, Lucian.
How does Feyre's information gathering add to the tension between the courts? I think that eventually, I mean, it's going to be tense, and I think this will create an issue when they're trying to garner alliances, which I totally understand. Especially, which they don't talk about it in this chapter specifically. We don't really hear about it more until they go and meet up with everybody and have the war table conversation. But
Amber just be like, get out of my apartment.
Yeah, she's like, why are you here?
What do you want? She's getting testy.
Because she's so close to going home.
So close.
I don't even know. You know what it is? I don't think Amren wants to go home. I think she just wants out of the body.
I think she also just wants the option to do.
Exactly. And that's the thing about Rhysand, though, too. And the Night Court in general is all about choice and giving people the choice and opportunity to do what they want.
Because that even it even set it up to like for Feyre because Amren did, which I kind of got. Amren kind of was like, okay, Tamlin, Feyre. And people were like, hey, but then she was like, no, you're right. Like, I'll give the options. I'm not going to make them do it, but I'll talk to them about it and they can have a choice.
But I think that the information gathering, creating tensions between the courts, I think that it'll be an issue when they're trying to garner alliances for the oncoming war. But I think once they hear why things were going the way, like the reasoning behind it and the motivations behind it, I think that they might garner more allies than enemies that way.
Yeah. Well, and just, I think they should use Lucian.
100%.
Because, I mean, when they said
friends in all courts,
I don't think they meant Tamlin.
They mentioned that at one point. They do mention that at one point.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure they did right at the end of the chapter. They mentioned something. Because first he says it's like an unspoken thing. And that it's not them talking about it. Okay. The narration of it is just like, and we're soon like... it was literally like, I think a sentence, and it was after Lucian's just like, my father will kill you to get his power back.
Oh, yeah. I did, but I don't remember them saying that they were going to invite Tamlin to because he's like, we need to have a meeting with all of the High Lords. Did they say something about either not inviting Tamlin? Because I feel like they shouldn't. But I feel like... yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't think Feyre should go to that meeting. Well, I mean, if they have everybody, they're not going to be able to kill her with Rhys and the Illyrians and Mor and Amren all there.
Who knows? Oh, I guess the only thing that I was thinking of is this right here. None of us were dumb enough to ask if he'd be willing to reveal details on the swim port.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? If he thought that Tamlin would arrive. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That was perhaps a conversation better left for another time with just him and me.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Turks. Just him and me. Him and I. You're a published author.
I saw who was on TikTok. There was a girl talking about I can't remember who it is. It's like maybe an actress or singer or just a TikTok person. I don't remember. Oh, it was, I think, do you know who Elise Myers is? She's a TikTok person. She's like really curly hair. She like tells stories and it's like, and then she always has like proof of like a picture, like it's always a story about her awkward like social interaction. I don't
really watch any TikToks. So.
Anyways, she was talking about, right, she did on Threads. She's like, I'm never going to judge like an author for having a typo because I've been working on this book now for X amount and like I can't see him anymore.
Yeah.
I can't
to be
see
fair,
him anymore.
I am the worst speller in the world. And like I have people proofread things 3 or 4 times before I even submit them anywhere. But just like I notice things like that and that bothers me. And I don't know why. And I usually
I see typos all the time knowing full well.
I don't even know if that's a typo. I think that's more of a preference thing because it's still accurate, I'm pretty sure. I just feel like him and I sounds better than him and me.
Yeah. But, me and him sounds better than him and me.
Yeah. Who knows? How do you think the looming threat of Hybern impacts Feyre's actions and urgency? Well, now that we have a better idea of what the plan is, chapter 10, now that we have a better idea of what the plan is and like how there's a concern that perhaps the cauldron may have like lost some of its power.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's because Nesta took it.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing if Nesta became the next vessel for the cauldron? And Amren's just like, girl, I get it.
Yeah, she saw the power and then she asked Cass, like, have you seen that? And he's like, only when she's like yelling at me, which is all the time. And obviously the mating bond has already snapped in for him. And he's just like, doesn't want to say that to Feyre because he's like, I already know one of your friends has said this about your sister. Unfortunately.
I wonder if more than one male can have a mating bond, though, because wouldn't it be some shit if Azriel had a mating bond for
I think it's Azriel and Mor.
I do, too.
That's how they, like, set it up. And Amren
Azriel and Lucian, but that's... With me in the middle. I'll die soon.
I'll die.
I don't want to become immortal. Oh, God. One lifetime is enough.
But I don't know if I could go live in Valeris and have like powers.
No, that's true. I mean, I'd want the powers.
Yeah.
I still don't know if I want to live forever.
I don't want to live forever.
Kelsey is a singer, just so you guys know.
It's so well, too. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Chapter 11. How does Feyre... I
forget that like this is going on.
You're welcome.
Sorry, everyone.
I'm not.
It's just, you guys are my friends now, and I sing in front of my friends.
This is all I wanted this to be, is just conversation with friends. So, I mean...
You get my singing.
You get to be you're in our friend group.
We should put a flash warning when my singing comes on.
No, I'd rather than be surprised like I am.
Oh, Lordy.
How does Feyre handle the growing threat from Hybern? Do you think she feels pressured by the time? That's the same question. It's the same question, just worded differently. So I'm just going to move to the next one. What do you think of the stakes in the chapter as Feyre realizes the full extent of Hybern's plans? Well, the fact that they want to wipe out all of Perinthian so that they just basically want to eliminate. They either want to eliminate all of humanity or they want to re-enslave humanity.
Re-enslave, yeah.
Which it's interesting because I thought, and I could be wrong, but I thought that the map shows that the wall goes onto the mainland as well.
It does.
So is the plan then...
The continent.
Yeah. Is the plan then to take over all of Perinthian, and then using the 3 places, Rask, Valahan, and Montessera, to eventually break down the wall on...
I think once you break the wall, it breaks the wall.
All the way across.
It's one wall, because that's why you can't go in through here except for the one place that they flew in around.
Yeah, the hole that's in the
water.
So
I think it's one wall.
But I do like the deceptive plan to keep the continent on their toes, to completely like...
Yeah.
I liked that. I thought
Think
that was
of yourselves right now.
Yeah, I thought that was a...
clever move.
You and I just had this conversation. We can't help anybody else if our house is on fire.
Put your own mask on before assisting others.
How do Feyre's feelings of isolation in the spring court shape her actions here?
I feel like these are not questions for chapter 11.
I think that they...
Because chapter 11, like my notes that I have is Lucien whining about, what about me? What were you going to do about me?
Yeah.
Like, bro, you did nothing for me when I was there. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I think this was part of the conversation. Well, that's kind of a part of the whole isolationist feeling inside of the spring court. I think it's just like they're trying to... Because the chapters after the altercation is when they're going through all the other courts, basically.
They're going through the autumn court is
Well, they
11.
go through the winter court, the autumn court.
Nope. Autumn court is first, because my other one is, I'm glad he seems to already be coming around, but fuck his brothers.
Oh, yeah.
So this was just autumn court, because autumn court was so big. It took like 5 days just to get to where like the forest house was, and then 2 or 3 days to get through that.
Well, spring court takes up the entire bottom half, and then it's... Oh, she couldn't go to the summer court.
Yeah.
Because they could have walked through the summer court, which was to the...
She said, I can't go through summer court because
which would have been on the west side. Yeah. So they went through the autumn court, which was on the east side.
What I thought, too, this is going back chapter or 2, when Alice was telling her, like, hey,
you'll always have...
pack, like, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I actually can't come to summer court because there's a
ruby with my name on it. Or a blood ruby or something.
There it is. Blood ruby with my name on it.
And she's like, well, you'll always have at least one friend in the summer court.
She's like, you'll always have a friend in mine. And they just she just knew. We stan Alice.
Yeah. I would have been curious to see what her plans would have been if she went through the winter court and then made it to that, like... Because that's where the land between the winter court and the dawn court is where the under the mountain was, and where the weavers house is. So I would have been interested to see what would have happened if they got there and she's like, fuck, I can't winnow still.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be Cassian that showed up.
Oh, Cassian, yeah.
But I'm glad it was Cassian that showed up, because it made it like...
That's in 2 more chapters. That's, chapter 13, because that's what yay for Cassian.
But no, I agree with you. But then it made sense. Like, going through the autumn court, I think that was just more of a filler chapter to be like, okay, this is like, we're recovering, we're still like,
I think it also was to get Lucien and Feyre to have more of that bonding. She didn't say a lot, but she said... little bits here and there.
She was slowly bringing him around is really what it was coming, because she knew that she wasn't going to be able to convince him anything otherwise until he saw it for himself.
Right. And then, I mean, it also helped them getting stuck in between that like winter court, autumn court kind of thing with the brothers, which I know I'm like skipping.
No, it's fine.
Kind of ahead. But I feel like 11, 12, 13 are kind of all...
It was all one chapter. It could have been just one chapter.
Yeah, because my 12 is... I'm hoping one of her distress signals have gone out. Maybe she just can't hear anything back, which wasn't true. I'm glad her and Lucien are getting into it. Oh, just closer and closer to him being on the right side. So this is, I feel like, when he like brought things up and she was like, you left me. You didn't do anything. Blah, 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 blah. And then I just said, dude, fuck his brothers.
That doesn't make any sense. These are off.
Yeah, because I don't think in chapter 12 she was manipulating.
No, because then right here it's like Feyre begins planning her escape. Oh,
yeah.
She already did.
So some of those are off. But no, there's like a moment in chapter 12. Now I'm like trying to think and I can't remember exactly what it was, but they like kind of got into it. Like they kind of were sassy in that cave.
Yeah.
And then she kind of was like, I have to go to bed, like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They were, like, getting into it and needing to.
Yeah, she stopped the fight. That's right. I remember what you're talking about. Yeah. Yep. She's like, before he could rebuttal.
I said this because, and then they were in the second cave, the ones that his brothers showed up, and he was coming around because she went to sleep finally and
he
was
put
like
his put his coat on her.
Yep. And like
because
that's
I think
when
he
her
finally
power
started to realize, I
think he always knew deep down because I'm sure he saw her when she left Spring Court
and saw her when she came back.
And it's like you can tell. It's like this is a sad comparison. But it's like when somebody, like beats an eating disorder. Well, it doesn't really beat it because you don't really beat them, but like has come out of it and come out of the bed.
Has more control.
Like, oh my gosh, like you look so healthy.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the conversation that you were talking about where in the first court was when he's like, I know that ring
was melted. Oh yeah.
And she's like, they melted it off of me. And he's like, I don't believe that.
Yeah. He didn't believe really anything that was coming out of her mouth.
And I think that's when he mentions, he's like, I have a friend that can do the same thing in the summer court.
Dawn court.
Yeah. I think, who knows? What was I going to say? I'm just trying to think of the actual chapters now because I can't trust that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about when they're in the second one and the brothers show up and she ends up tapping into the fire and helping him tap into the fire. And that's when he's just like, okay, we're doing this together. We're going to be in this together.
And then they run and then they find the first. I think there's a first winter cave and then a second.
There's only one winter cave. And then they get to the edge of that.
Oh, yeah. Then the ice lake.
And that's when they see the brothers doing that. And then that's when Cassian shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had such a sigh of relief. Like, I was like, finally.
Especially because, like, his wings are okay.
And he looks strong and healthy. And he's just, and, like, she just, like, breaks down in his arms when they're flying away. And he's like, I missed you, too. And I was like,
know. But I love that he's like, I don't know who looks more uncomfortable.
I'm not.
The other Lucian, because that picture was so funny to me as well. Like, Lucian really sees him as an enemy as of right now. But he's like, come here, let me. And I'm like, so he's like, holding him like this? like a baby? Like, I want to know how, when they fly.
Or are they stomach to stomach? And like, because Lucian's got his arms around his waist and he's looking away and he's like, don't look at him.
I'm sure when it's Feyre, like, it's just fine. But like.
Who knows? Well, it's not a piggyback, I can tell you that.
And that's I'm like, because the only thing you would think of that would be like.
Comfortable.
Bro appropriate.
Bro code.
Yeah, bro code appropriate would be like a piggyback. But I love the thought of like holding him, like cradling him as he flies.
Yeah.
Because that's, I feel like, the only way.
I have no idea. I mean, unless you make it a little bit gay where he's like standing face to face and they're like wrapped his arms around him. But yeah, like Spider Monkey on the front.
Yeah.
Who knows? And then they end up back at the. Who knows? I like that there's a certain part directly when they get back to the it's not the villa, it's the house.
Townhouse. The townhouse. House of Wind.
No, the townhouse. When they get to the townhouse and Reese sends everyone away so that they can fuck. But I like that there was a moment there where Feyre was just like, I should have got him more clothes and like got him to change. And for Lucian, she's like, it didn't even cross my mind. And the breakdown that she had, and I get like.
My note was the parallel of when she first got back from night court, when the first week she left. And she gets back and just wants to be with Tamlin. And he's like, no,
drilling her.
I want to know everything.
And she's like, don't you want to know what I learned from the Spring Court? And he's like, no.
Yeah, because I was like, the parallel from Spring and Reese wanting to not talk about like business first. Like, he's like, let's go do. And he got her a bath. Like, he did all of these things. He was like, hey, you're clean, but still you don't feel clean.
The oil of it is still on.
Yeah, I was like, and then he's like, I'll fix that problem tomorrow. About the bath not being.
Yeah, not a 2-person path. But I think it also goes to show, like, again, she's constantly in this state of wanting to take care of the people she cares about.
Yeah. Well, but I didn't love that Lucian didn't listen to her when she's like, you stay here. I'm going to go see her first. Because, like, Elaine's not in a
But at the same time, from what we understand about the mating bond, though, it's kind of, and Reese even says it at one point about the, like, he's usually in control, but he can kind of fall off of it a little bit, especially when the bond is so fresh. Yeah. So I can understand, like, I mean.
Well, and especially he doesn't know her at all.
Yeah. Like, but, I mean, I guess that's how it works. Isn't that how it works in Disney?
Yeah. Except for Frozen. You want to marry a guy that you met yesterday?
I have to tell you, that line in Frozen is like one of my favorite things in the world. But going back to when she first gets to see Rhysand, though, there is when she makes eye contact with him and just crumples. Yeah. I honestly, she's safe.
She knows she's safe.
I'm not like, I understand in this context it's about a romantic involvement and all that stuff, but I have felt that way familially. Because my sister got into a car accident when I was in my early 20s. And I remember I was on I drove by it. And I was like, wow, that car looks familiar. And then, like, I was on my way to Methuen, Massachusetts, which was like 45 minutes from my house. Like, from the town that I lived in, it was 45 minutes. And I remember being on the road and getting a phone call from my mother saying, your sister was just in an accident. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, she was on this road, which is the road I was on. She's like, she slid down the hill. She went over the embankment, crashed in a ditch, went onto like all this shit. And I'm like, oh no. And I saw the car. Yeah. So I knew what it looked like and what the end result was. And there's
oh
no. You don't see it anymore.
I saw it fly out when you did that. Fly was trying to drink my wine.
Yeah. And I remember like, flooring it down the highway because I was dropping my ex-fiance. What? I can't tell you how insane it is to me to think that at 22 I was engaged. Absolutely.
I feel like we should just not count it. Yeah. Sometimes I do that.
Just don't count it.
I just don't count.
Anyway, that's just like the thing. I just saw a reel and it was like, if you didn't come, it doesn't count. And I'm like, I'm a virgin, y'all. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I remember like flooring it down, dropping him off, and then getting back on the highway and like booking it to the hospital. And I remember like walking into the hospital and like stealing myself and being like, nope. Yep. And then as soon as the doctor, like I think it was the nurse, opened the curtain to the bed that she was in, I just dropped and bawled. Because my sister's my best friend, which you know what that's like.
I do.
Yeah, it's just, I can understand that level
absolutely.
of like feeling. After that, what happens is then she decides
also, after you said didn't come to, all I could think of was Meg's the stallion. If the dick wasn't slapping, then it never happened.
Following or something like that. The sex scene, which was some more delicious, like, actually like depictive,
but now I get why it is.
It's a build-up,
and it was
because with Tamlin it was never really important. It was just,
I feel like it was purposefully done by Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
That like it was nothing, and then with Rhys it was fireworks.
That's because with Rhys it actually matters.
The mating bond.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I'm gonna give you some more.
Okay. Just so you know, it's making your lips a little purple.
Ugh, my lips turn purple so fast. Oops.
Oops, what? You just gave me the rest of the bottle?
One time I went for like 2 glasses of wine with an ex-manager because I was doing my exit interview. It was either 1 or 2. And then I was going on a date with my then boyfriend. I get in the car. He goes, have you been drinking wine? I said, why would you say that? He's like, your lips and teeth?
Yep.
I said, I swear I only had like 1 or
I feel like it's always with these darker, like the Cabernets and the Merlots and stuff like that.
My mom's lips also turn purple like very, very, very fast. When I was younger, and I drink a lot more than I did. I am more red wine than I do now.
So funny because white wine was my first.
Yeah.
I was all white wine.
Funny.
And now all I drink is red wine.
I drink both now.
I mean, I'll drink both if that's what's there, but I prefer red wine.
But I would just wear like dark red lipstick so you couldn't even
tell.
But then I look back at those pictures like, damn, you were real pale with real colored in eyebrows and real dark red lips.
Listen, we're allowed to be young and make choices.
Those eyebrows were definitely choices. But you guys know, it's like 2016 era.
Exactly. Now that we're moving on with a little less direction, just because I think the questions are a little off that this is showing me.
I'm doing mine. But.
So the next thing that happens after the sex scene is that they go to the House of Wind, and that's when Feyre gets to see her sisters for the first time.
And Nesta's a bitch.
Nesta, I think Nesta is just like, I'm reserved to the lot I have been given in life.
I think though that she also still has like that such like hatred towards Faye that like.
I don't know if it was ever really hatred towards Faye. I think it was
kept saying you people and those kinds and one of you.
I think that was her like. I think that was, and I think with the interaction that she has with Amryn, it's a level of like laissez-faire, like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. She's like,
and I think that it wasn't like she just was, everyone else hated Faye, so I'm going to hate Faye.
Yeah.
And I think because ultimately the only thing she ever particularly cared about was Elaine.
Yeah.
And then after what happened with Elaine and Elaine literally becoming a hollow shell.
Yeah.
Which that's so sad.
It's so sad. But it's
also very similar to what happened to Feyre after Under the Mountain. So I'm wondering if like similar treatment, like.
But it's also like, I'm sorry, you can't marry that boy anymore. His dad will kill you. So.
Well, I think there's also a level of shock because how long has it been? It's been maybe a month since she got changed.
Yeah.
Is that mine or yours? Who knows? Who knows? Neither of us. Those are blonde. Who knows? Well, there's one long black one that's you, but this blonde one.
This looks like a dog hair.
I was going to say, it's probably Darwin.
But for a minute, I was like, it's a gray hair.
After that is when we then have the meeting with, is that when they meet with Amryn? And yeah, because they're flying back from the House of Wind, or the House of Wind, and then they start talking about the game plan, like what's supposed to happen. So they're gonna start taking.
I'm also glad. Sorry, this is right before that they got Lucian like his own room, his own.
And he's staying at the House of Wind.
Am I a prisoner? And it's like, I mean.
No, but there are rules
really,
to you being
but yeah, like you're not a prisoner. You can go wherever you want in this land.
If anything, he's a prisoner of war. Like they still have to worry about what he's going to do and where he's going to go. And this is actually something I wrote inside of my questions is as much as, and I understand, say that he and Elaine, the mating bond clicks. Do you think he's going to stay loyal to the House of Night, the Court of Night? Or do you think that he's going to go back to Tamlin?
I think it will depend on Elaine and what Elaine wants to do.
What if Elaine doesn't want to do any of it? What if Elaine wants to die?
I don't think Elaine will want to die.
Yeah,
I think
she's
she'll
pretty empty shell right now. We've all been there.
Yeah, I mean something's gonna click her out of it. It'll probably be Feyre because that's what this book has been like. Or maybe it'll be Lucian. Who knows?
Or it could even be Rhysand.
Yeah, that would be cute.
That would be really cute. After that, what happens? That's when Rhysand, at the end of that chapter, is when Rhysand says, I'm going to call a meeting of all the High Lords.
Yeah.
And that's when we learn
and then the next chapter, like we argued about it.
Yeah, that's, I think, chapter 17.
Yeah, which I do like, though. This, I feel like, is also different. Just a parallel between the Night Court and the Spring Court.
Or the Night Court and any court.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know a lot about the other
we have a little bit of understanding about the Summer Court.
That he's very like, these are my people and we're all going to discuss it.
We're going to talk about this as a group. Yeah.
Ultimately, it's my decision, but we are.
Well, not anymore.
Jesus. It was just a sneeze. And
This is what I deal with, y'all. So it's not just his decision anymore.
Yeah, it's hers too.
It's hers because she's the High Lady.
She realized, she was like, "Oh my god!"
Like, when she did that and stopped them from killing the brothers, and
but then she she's like, "I literally rank above them. I'm
in charge.
I'm in charge of my friends. This is so weird."
Yeah,
which I would love. I think I would make a great cult leader.
Who knows?
You'd be like a nice cult.
Who knows? Who knows?
Don't pretend like this isn't the first time I've told you that.
Oh, man.
I tell a lot of people that. I'm not ashamed about that.
You just want to start a cult?
I just would like a big group of people to just listen to me because I feel like what I think is correct.
Have you seen Umbrella Academy?
No.
Okay.
Should I?
I mean, it's a great show, and we just finished it because the series finally ended. And I think there's only...
if the series is over, I love watching a full series.
Speaking of which, after the last episode that we shot, I stupidly drank a Red Bull at like 7:00 before we ended up shooting because I was like, oh, I think it was episode 8. I was like, I don't feel like I had a lot of energy. And because of that, it was like a really short episode. We didn't talk as much as we normally do.
Over an hour.
Which I'm okay with. Well, some of that too is the stuff beforehand that I have to like cut. But so Kelsey went home. I went upstairs and I watched the entire first season of Heartstoppers.
Oh, you did? Yeah, you did text me about that.
I mean, it's nice because it's the first time in a while. Like, let me finish talking about the book first, and then we'll go into talking about other stuff. But I
feel like there wasn't much about the book. It was just like discussions of what they're doing next.
There was, yeah, but I felt like I had a thing I wanted to talk about, which specifically said she was the High Lady. She ended up exposing herself. Like when she told the brothers not to get murdered because she's like, she has to now start thinking.
Oh,
as a
yeah.
She's like, these will have repercussions and complications going forward, which
all three of the, yeah.
But she also fucked herself because now she's left herself open because people know her power.
Yeah. They at least know that she has three of the powers because they've seen fire, ice, and the Dawn Court.
Yeah. No, they didn't.
Yep, because when he was,
that's right.
When she was getting,
them to scare, like to blind them, and so then she did the fire. Yeah. So
because Cassian was like, "Bitch, we literally did so much training. Why are you doing none of it?
Why are you not doing any of it?"
He's like, "I came over here to get you. Can you help me a little?"
So a note that I have. Who knows? Chapter 18 is kind of a deep dive into the history of some of the courts and such, and we get a lot of lore in those chapters.
We haven't read 18 yet.
Sorry, 17. It's like the last chapter. It's when we start getting more like the political things and what's going on in each of the courts and all that stuff. And I think that it's interesting to get the lore this late in the game, but at the same time, you did mention in the last episode that this is kind of the book that wraps up a lot of questions.
Well, that's what I was told.
I still have one lingering question, which we still have not had answered.
The second part of the curse.
Anyway, the other note that I do have two more notes. The other note that I have is in ACOWAR, we got Lucian's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And ACOWAR. Who knows?
I don't support whatever he just did right there. Just to let you guys know.
In A Court of Mist and Fury, we got Moore's backstory. Do you think we'll get Amren's in this book, or do you think it'll be someone else that'll be the focus of their backstory, or maybe everybody else's backstory?
I don't know. There's a lot of pages.
Well, actually, we did already get Cassian and Azriel's too in A Court of Mist and Fury. Who knows?
We got some of Razan's.
We got most of Razan's, and we got a little bit more of it at the beginning of this book. So I'm wondering if we're going to get like Amren's backstory and finally.
Because we also have Moore's background.
We got her.
As I said, we do have it. Like we have it right now. We know it. We possess
the only person
knowledge.
we have left is Amren.
Yeah, but I wonder if we'll only get it if she, I feel like, tells it. Because when Nesta was asking, where does that glow from? What are you beneath?
Well, and this is what
she's
I'm
like,
thinking.
No, none of these other busybodies asked me.
Well, and this is what I'm thinking. I don't think that I think that she's going to use the book to free herself from the flesh prison that she's stuck in.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's necessarily going to leave.
Right, because this is her family now.
Exactly. And I think what'll happen is that she will then explain who she is, what she's done, and where she's from.
Yeah.
I imagine
where did you come from? Where did you go?
She's Cotton Eye Joe.
Where did you come from?
I want to talk about how guilt plays a reoccurring role in this series. In these chapters, we address the guilt Cass feels about not being able to protect Nesta. And then we hear about the guilt about killing the two Fae before Tamlin, which was what a fucking waste in general.
I mean, no, because it caused and helped everything. It would have been nice if she could have just figured out the love part. Just the riddle. But then, if she would have figured out the riddle, she wouldn't have known Rhysand as she knows him now.
The riddle was the easiest riddle I've ever heard in my life.
I didn't get it right away, but I definitely got it.
I got it right away. Who knows?
I knew it was some kind of like untangible thing, but I think I was thinking like loyalty or trust or something.
I think it's because
like
I'm a poet and a helpless romantic at heart that I'm just like, it's the first thing I thought of.
I am not a poet, and I'm cynical.
She's not a ponent. Speaking of which, now that we're done talking about the book, speaking of cynicism, So watching Heartstoppers has been very nice because especially the last 6 months for me, on a more personal note. We didn't even do our check-in.
We didn't do our check-in. I don't really have anything for.
I know,
it's been like 4 days.
It's been 4 days.
We filmed Thursday and today's Monday.
But still,
I worked and read.
I just thought about that. But anyway, who knows? I broke up with my boyfriend back in May, and we had been together for just shy of a year. And he was the first relationship I had been in, like first committed relationship I had been in quite a few years. And lately, I have been kind of like drifting back into that sense of cynicism for myself, where like there's even been moments where I wonder if I might be if I could be considered like asexual, because I'm like,
I think that literally all of the time.
There's a lot of times that I'm like, do I feel, but then I'm like, no, I have like, I think that my problem is that I have such a capacity of like emotional like range that it's sometimes like hard to just pin it down. And watching this show, like I haven't binged a TV show, like stayed awake to watch a TV show, and I can't even tell you how long. And watching Heartstoppers, like there was, I mean, it's not your typical gay story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a lot of atypical aspects to it, which is just like the straight boy is coming to terms with his sexuality, and he gravitates towards the only openly gay character and all this stuff, which I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he's a rugby player, so it's a sports, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, fucking okay. But it's also set up in Britain, which their school system is different than ours.
Yes.
So it's like a different dynamic in that sense.
There's this thing where people are like, what did you realize was, like with the Harry Potters reading it or even watching the movies, would you realize like later in life was just English and and one of them was like head boys and head girls and all, and the prefects and all that stuff. I thought that was just like magical things. But then I watched what the fuck is that show called? Sex Education. And then I was like, oh no, there's a show called, I think it's Sex Education.
Is it called Sex Education or Sex Ed? Who knows? Is it on Netflix, the one with Gillian Anderson?
Yeah.
I thought that was called Sex Ed, but it's fine. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, that's just how they do it there.
Yeah, there was like many things.
Even in Canada, like my cousins go to primary school first and then secondary school. And I'm like, which grades are those? And they're like, what grades?
Well, and then especially like in Canada, I was like, in Canada, they don't have like freshman, sophomore. It's 9th grade, 10th grade.
Yeah. And then they have like university they have universal education there. So there's no like, you just continue to go until you find the career that you want. And then you go into that field. Must be nice. Anyway, something that I realized though, and this is now we're going into the deep dive of like an emotional conversation, so don't mind me. I didn't get to ask you this when it popped into my head because I reached out to my friend Matt because I knew he was potentially awake.
Mine do not disturb goes on at like 8 p.m.
Exactly. Which I'm not mad at. Mine does too. Mine goes on at 10:30, so I got you. And it does not come off until 8 a.m. because
it's already on. I think it comes on at 9.
But I had a thought about, I came out at a very young age. I knew from a very, very young age, and I voiced it for the first time when I was 7. And then I actually like fully came out to anybody and everybody. I didn't care either way when I was 13. And the question that I posed to myself, just solely based off of watching this show, especially because it's like kids in university or kids in high school ish, because they're around 17-ish, 16, 17. And I wonder if my self-assuredness, like being so, my roommate's laughing from upstairs. Not that you guys can hear it, but it's just trickling down the stairs. I wonder sometimes if the amount of like, as how sure of myself I have been and always have been, has alienated other people away from me out of fear. No. You got to, I know your reaction would be instant like that, but give it a second and think about it in this sense. Like people who are not sure about themselves, especially when it comes to their sexuality, being around people who are so sure of themselves can be intimidating.
I get that.
And I wonder, I
get that, especially like at a younger age.
Yes.
In the area you grew up in.
Exactly.
So I guess
I was one of three.
Like, now in our 30s, absolutely not.
I actually, my second part of that was about now too. But like when I grew up, the high school I went to, I was one of 3 openly gay people in that school.
Which actually is a lot. But it was
1,500 students in my graduating year.
In your graduating year? Why did I think you came from a small town?
I did, but my high school did 6 other cities and towns.
Why?
Because it was the biggest school and it was a semi-private school.
I mean, I had like 400 or 500 in my graduating class. I don't know if we had really any openly.
And that was the thing, like openly gay kids across all grades. So there was 3 of us in total.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
And it's really funny because one of them was like a sophomore when I was a senior. And we hooked up like years later.
There's definitely people who like are out now and love you guys, but no offense.
Who knows?
You know.
Yeah, of course. No. And I mean.
But I don't know if anyone had actually come out in high school.
But that's the thing is like, yes.
Which is very, very sad.
And honestly, one of the characters in the show, it's like someone, like people just assumed it. And then he came out to a friend and his friend talked about it with another friend and someone overheard it. And that became, but like, and you can tell he's like, he's not passing as much as most people. And I've had this conversation plenty of times. I am not passing. I'm very well aware that I'm not passing. I actually almost get offended when people don't think I'm gay.
Every time somebody asks me if Bradley is my boyfriend, I'm like, what?
I almost went to one of her family things and told her parent, like when she got laid off from work, she didn't tell her like parents until we went to this family dinner with them.
It was after I figured out what I was going to do with my life.
And when she was like, guys, I have something to tell you, I wanted to chime in and be like, she's pregnant, it's mine.
But my little sister did say, oh my God, are you pregnant? And I think that's when you said, yup, it's mine. And I was like, I'm not pregnant.
You have to like people in order to have sex, but... Which also ties back in. Am I asexual?
I literally think about that all the time. What I always say is like, unfortunately, I'm mainly straight, but like, I hate men.
Yeah. And this is the thing is like, I don't think I still have, and I don't actually think I'm asexual. And I'm not saying any of that to disprove people who are, because that's a whole journey for them and themselves. And I appreciate that for them.
Sometimes I do. Might be.
Well, research it and come to terms with it and come out if you need to. And then you can be a part of the alphabet army like the rest of us. But there is, it's just something that happens to me, especially in these bouts where I'm like, I want to, like, a part of me wants to get into a relationship. A part of me wants to have that, like, person in my life that I can be that vulnerable with, like Feyre is with Rysand, and, like, just, like, 100% communication, 100% trust in somebody else. I have all of that with my friends, though. Mm-hmm. And there's like a public speaker, and I can't remember their name or what their pronouns are, but there's a public speaker that's like, I'm romantic with all of my friends.
Platonic intimacy.
Which I definitely invest in. And one of the things that Sam and I have talked about is that there's definitely like different facets of me that I fulfill outside of anybody else.
Absolutely. And I also know that like I'm a little bit different with like each
person,
group of friends and each person 100%. Because it's just you adapt and when you connect with somebody.
They also just fulfill a certain aspect for you. Like here and like us doing these nights of cooking for each other, that fulfills the familial aspect for me. Mm-hmm. And like going out with the boys is like those are my out and about boys. But then I've also got like a really, really small, tight knit group of people that like will do anything.
And you play your games on Fridays.
Exactly. Like there's certain aspect, like Mari lives in Florida. We still check in once, twice, maybe even 3 times a week. I actually just talked to him today, which he just got power back at 6:30 tonight. Who knows? And
he's
the only
ready
damage
to come here and have a little break.
Yeah, the only damage that he got at the house is that the flashing on the back of the house got bent up from the wind. That was it. And I was like, we will take that.
We will definitely take that.
I was like, that's easily replaceable if somebody comes in and does it like siding. Good for them. Yeah. But I talked to my sister earlier today, and my youngest nephew, Colton, took the phone and like showed me around the house and showed me all of his like the decorations that he has, and his brother JJ took the phone and showed me all the like cartoon characters that he just drew and all this stuff. But like Colton and I feel like, and I hate to say this because I don't want to negate anything I have with anybody else, but I feel like a deeper connection with Colton only because like when my sister had him, I flew up with my friend Katie right after she gave birth to him. Like I'm talking right after. And I had been there a couple of months before she gave birth, and like I was rubbing her tummy and like screaming into it, like just because I'm like, you're going to know my voice. And then Colton was born. I went up and I spent the entire weekend in a hammock just sleeping with him. And like there's a couple of pictures of me just sleeping with him. And then so for him to like recognize my voice and like pull me around to things and want to show me
when
things.
Kids
and I just like
recognize you, or like when it clicks. Because like with Farley, so one of my girlfriends has 3 daughters now. And when the now middle child Farley, when it like finally clicked for her, because Sawyer, she was the first one. So like she
got all the attention.
Yes. But then Farley, when it like finally clicked that when they said TT, it was me, and that like it had clicked before that like she knew because she recognized my face and that before. But then when it recognized, now it's all TT. Yeah. And she's what is it, 2024? So she's 2.
Yeah. I mean, I love all my nieces and nephews equally. Do not get me wrong. There's just like, there's some little kernel of something there. And I was talking with Mari about it, and I was like, it kind of makes me want to go home, which who knows? I don't really love the idea of going back to New England.
You just want to be by your family. Well, your sister.
No, I don't want to say no. I want to be... I'm going to get so much shit for this. Who knows? There's a big part of me that hates the idea that I feel like I put in the most effort when it comes to the people that I care about. And in this particular instance, I know that if I go up there, I'm going to stay in Boston. If anybody wants to come see me, they can come down and see me. I would like to see my sister and her kids, just because my sister, her husband, and her kids, we're very close. We talk very frequently. I'm quasi close with my parents, and not a bad thing. It's just we check in every once in a while. We see how we're doing.
That happens when you're an adult.
We're adults. It's just, I mean, we still check in with each other and see how everyone's doing. My brother, we check in with each other around our birthdays. And then my oldest brother, I haven't heard from in years.
Yeah, my brothers, I don't remember the last time I talked to them.
Yeah, which I didn't even know you had brothers.
I feel like, yes, you did. My stepbrothers, Jace, Gage.
Nope. To be fair, if she's ever talking about a sibling, I just automatically think you're talking about your sister. Well,
because I'll say your sister, like my little sisters.
Yeah. But
no, it is.
My family dynamics are
mom's
weird.
Marriage and
family dynamics are weird, and there's and honestly, there's no bad blood. I mean, it is what it is.
They're also just like really a lot younger than me, and Jace lives in
it's really
Wisconsin,
funny too, because
Michigan.
I didn't realize that. My sister didn't know this, but she said it to me today. She's like, take your time before you have kids, and I was like, I'm not having any. And
I feel like the only reason I think about dating was because like I don't know for sure one way or the other.
She kind of looked at me, and I was like, I made this decision back when I was in my 20s. I was like, I don't want them. I was like, absolutely. I mean, when I was much younger, like I was like, ooh, I wish I could have a kid when I was 16, which is god awful, mind you. Babies raising babies are not a good idea. But I was like, at least they'd be an adult by the time I was an adult. But as I've gotten older, especially now too, like I'm selfish and I'm okay admitting that I'm selfish.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to worry about my things getting broken. I don't want to have to worry about.
I would love to be a mom if I like got to be a stay-at-home mom.
And I know that that's not feasible for me.
Yeah.
And I think that right now I could because fuck my job, but who knows? I think that there's a part of me that is like, I could see myself being a parent.
I know I would be a wonderful
I would be great
mom.
at doing it. I would be heavily medicated because of my anxiety, but I could do it.
And this is like the stupidest pop culture reference that I'm going to be making right now.
I love this. Gilmore Girls?
No. I wish. I really wish that was
spit it out then.
Do you know who John Cena and Nikki Bella are?
I know who John Cena is.
So Nikki, she's from the Bella twins. She also was
a wrestler?
Yes.
Okay.
And she was on one of the shows that it was like Total Divas.
Mm-hmm.
So John Cena and Nikki were like dating forever, ever. She wanted to get married, have kids, all this stuff. He didn't want to do any of it. Eventually came around and I believe they got engaged, but then they called it off because the kids thing. And he was doing an interview with I forget who, but like they were talking about how it might have been like Drew Barrymore. They were talking about how he has the most make-a-wish wishes. Like he's made the most make-a-wishes.
Yeah.
He's great with kids. He'll like dress up as whatever. Like he'll go and see all these kids. And she's like, you would be a great dad. And he's like, I don't think just because you would be great at something is a reason for you to do that thing.
100.
He's like, I've never wanted kids, but like I love kids. They're great.
Yeah.
But it's not something I wanted to do. But
which I think is where I'm at.
I think what's hard for me is for a long while, I was convinced that I was put on this earth to be a mom. And I think what's hard is like, I just don't love the world right now, and bringing another person, especially with where we're at with like women's rights, guns, all rights for minorities, because who knows where my kid will be if I have a kid. And
something I've been saying for a very long time right now is that it's not that I don't think I could be good at it, and it's not that I don't think that I would be a great parent. I know myself well enough to know if something happened to my child, I would not survive it.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
Yeah. I wouldn't survive it.
No, absolutely.
And that's why I don't want kids. I don't need to put myself in that predicament. I don't need to be in that situation. I think that's
also part of the reason I don't want to date.
Yeah, that's fair.
When
I was dating Mari, especially because this was right around the Black Lives Matter.
Husband I loved so much died.
Mari and I dated for a year, and then we became best friends. Like we dated for a year, figured it wasn't the greatest idea for both of us, and then we decided to just be friends, and then we became best friends on the verge of like we are basically family for each other.
You are family. I feel like you don't need to.
And when when the Black Lives Matter thing was happening, we weren't even together, and I was still just like,
absolutely.
If I drove home sometimes, because we lived in a predominantly Black neighborhood, which unfortunately has a higher rate of police activity, I would drive home at night sometimes and see flashing lights by my street, and I would start having a panic attack because I'm like,
absolutely,
please tell me he's in the house and that he's safe. That's all I care about, is he's in the house and he's safe. And like even now, like I still hate the fact that he lives in Florida because it's I'm just not comfortable with it. But at the same time,
Black man in Florida is insane.
But who knows? It is what it is. I'm growing and learning and evolving.
It's just hard because you know what can happen. And
exactly. And it's funny too, because I was talking about how I'm getting cynical and becoming this, like going into this place in my head lately. But then yesterday I had this really, really strong, overwhelming gratitude for my life. And like I was in the middle of uploading the last episode that we did.
I just finished about that.
I just finished up I was in the middle of finishing editing our YouTube series posting it on YouTube, watching the uploads go up. And then I decided to start working on the second act of a script that I'm writing. Mm-hmm. And I just like flipped a vinyl that I've been listening to all day. And I was just like, I'm really content with my life right now. And like, as I'm trying to imbue you with like, give you some of my joy.
Give it to me, please.
But I think that there's like, as much as I would enjoy being in a relationship, I think that I wouldn't be as happy or as fulfilled or doing the things that I ultimately want to do if I was continuously worrying about or focusing on another person. Because like something else that I realized, especially while reading this book, I have never had a partner aside from Mari, but we became family, so that's entirely different. But like, I have never had a partner outside of Mari who ever really recognized when I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And their reactions to when I'm not okay have all been very similar, which is distance, pretend it's not happening, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Whereas Mari, very much like myself, is what can I do?
Yep.
How can I help?
Yep.
And I think that that's where I start getting cynical. It's because I'm like, one, in the 36 years of my life, is that all we got to deal with? Is that all we get?
No, and I think that's like what's hard for me too, is I know I'm a pretty specific person. I know that about myself.
You're particular.
I'm particular. Yeah. I say specific person, particular.
If Brandon was straight, you two would be great.
Story of my life. But I know I'm not as... He's like, y'all have been doing this forever.
You can come out if you need to. Who knows? Okay.
I don't want to be in your video.
Yeah, he's like, fuck all you guys.
I know that I have specific things about me that people would need to like deal with. And that just like sounds exhausting to like have to have somebody learn all of that. Because like It's
funny that you say that, because I think the biggest thing that I always concern myself with is I don't want to tell my story again.
It's not necessarily my story, because like I love to trauma dump. Love to tell my stories. I'm like, oh, you know me for 4 minutes. Let me tell you my whole life story.
Oh my God. We went to a work function before and I was like, Kelsey, have you done drugs?
What drugs have you done? Like literally
the first time we met each other in person, I feel like.
No, that wasn't the first time. The first time we were in the office, it was probably the second or third time, because that was after the work holiday party. Yeah. Like one of the first times we hung out, it was at a work thing, and I'm snapping at him from across the way,
being like, her a plate
of dessert, and he just looks at me and goes, with 2 forks. Like, duh, we're sharing everything, which was great.
Yeah.
No, we bonded very close.
Very quickly.
That was at Beaches. We're supposed to be there at 11:30. He texts me at 11:25. Where are you?
Why aren't you here?
I'm like, I'm literally pulling in.
I'm like, I'm holding a seat for you and there's people showing up.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, so... back to the book.
Oh, yeah. We need to decide what chapters we're reading.
175 pages. So what's
But if we do 175 times 2, because that'll just be, so that's what, 325. So go to 325 and then just see what the next chapter is. Oh, right there.
I know. We are reading chapter 13. No, that's
18.
Not right. 18 to 32.
31. 18 through 31.
18 through 31. Yes. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for the random trauma dumping that we just did.
I feel like we did not trauma dump.
Oh, it was something.
We talked a lot tonight, though.
What straight guys think 6 inches is versus what actual 6 inches is.
Even though I fucked it up, that was a good joke that we made together.
So good. Oh my God. And I just edited that too to make the little shorts for it. And that's one of the shorts going to be promo. It's going to be so good. But yeah, so.
Sometimes I'm really funny. Actually, I'm funny a lot of the times.
Next episode will be chapter 18 through 31. And we will see you, I think it's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving that we're going to be posting this episode.
Which is funny because I'm going to be Oh, that's funny. Because
Is it?
then next week, which will be a week before Thanksgiving, I'm making Cornish game hen, which I feel like it's kind of Thanksgiving-y.
I love it.
And I'm going to make Brussels sprouts.
Who knows?
Rolls.
You don't want me to bring the bread?
Well, I have Rhodes rolls.
I continuously have her bring bread when she comes over.
Actually, this is how it happened. First time it was the chicken noodle soup. And he's like, okay, I have chicken noodle soup. And I'm like,
who knows? Is that it?
Do you want me to bring bread? And then today was stew. And I think he just assumed I would probably want bread, which was true. Because he told me to, and I would like to say, I cut 4 pieces. And he's like, that's probably enough. And I'm like, so I cut 2 more. And guess who? Each of us ate 3 pieces of bread. But if it's there.
I just didn't want you to like cut the whole thing and then we didn't finish it all. Because I'd rather be able to roll it up and bring it home with you. Mm-hmm. So you have like half a loaf left.
Ooh, maybe I'll make a grilled cheese tomorrow.
Perfect.
You get bacon again.
It was like bacon and Dijon mustard.
Dijon mustard, honey, mayo.
So good.
So good.
So
good.
Thanks again for, let me set this up so that I can close it when I need to. Let's go like that. There we go. So thanks again. This is episode 10 of BK Book Club. Court of Wings and Ruin. And fuck Kelsey.
I'm doing ASMR.
How do I have nails more? Like, are my nails longer than yours right now?
No, not right now. This one probably because I broke it, but not those.
If only, guys, if only.
That one.
It's
broke.
Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, and share.
See you next week.
Have a good night. Who knows?